The One Piece manga just confirmed that Shanks is on Elbaf getting ready to fight Eustace Kid and taking his road poneglyph. This is a major reveal that has incredible implications about Shanks' true power, his real goal, and how the Elbaf arc will play out once the Straw Hats inevitably get there after escaping from Egghead Island. Starting with the imminent battle between the Red Hair Pirates and the Kid Pirate. Does Kid stand any chance at all against Shanks? And what does this fight mean for the endgame of One Piece? Eiichiro Oda, the author of One Piece, has created two groups for the final saga that are competing for the One Piece treasure. And interestingly enough, Luffy is part of both. On the one hand, you have the four Yonko, the most powerful pirates in the world: Luffy, Shanks, Blackbeard, and Buggy, but technically Mihawk. And on the other hand, the top fighters of the worst generation, which are again Luffy, Kid, and Law. Which means that we now have a total of 6 pirate crews trying to get their hands on all 4 road poneglyphs and reaching Laugh Tale first. And Oda has now put 2 of the Yonko up against 2 of the worst generation. Law has been attacked by Blackbeard, while Kid has actively sought out Shanks. Blackbeard and Shanks want to get their hands on Kaido's road poneglyph, while Law would get the one that Aokiji stole from Whole Cake Islands, and Kid is trying to get the one that is most likely hidden on Elbaf, protected by Jaguar di Sol, the man with the burning marks, who has most likely rescued it from Ohara, together with all the rest of its ancient treasures. This might actually be the road poneglyph that went missing from Fishman Island, where Shanks saw it when he was still part of Roger's crew. Now, we can of course not forget that both Kid and Law have fought against Kaido, and that both of them together have defeated Big Mom. However, it would take a small miracle for either of them to actually win a 1 versus 1 against another Yonko so shortly after leaving Wano. Especially since both Shanks and Blackbeard have been heavily foreshadowed as 2 of the main opponents that Luffy still has to face at some point in the story. But then again, who knows what sort of curveballs Oda has planned for this final saga. Also, when you think about it, following this exact pattern, it opens up the possibility that Luffy will run into Buggy, Crocodile, and Mihawk soon as well. However, I do think it's fair to say that Luffy has his hands full right now. There's an Admiral and one of the Gorosei themselves coming for him with an armada of 100 marine warships. And we actually do not know yet if Mihawk and Crocodile actually want to compete for the One Piece in the first place. So for now, let's focus on the battle between Kid and Shanks. Now, when you put both of these characters next to each other like this, you will notice that they share a lot of physical similarities. Both have red hair, both have a scar over their left eye, and both are missing an arm. And that last one is especially ironic because Kid lost that arm in his first encounter with the Red Hair Pirates. It does turn out, however, that it wasn't Shanks who cut it off. In fact, Kid never even got to see Shanks during the fight in the first place. Instead, it seems like Ben Beckman was the one who actually took Kid's arm, which kind of makes it look like some sort of really morbid joke on his end. I mean, maybe Beckman saw Kid and how similar he looked to Shanks and then thought to himself, you know what would be hilarious? I do think that we're all about to find out why the Red Hair Pirates are all considered monsters and not just the group of chill partying men that we have seen so far in the story. Well, for the longest time, it really seemed like Shanks was the only Yonko with only a small crew and no territory. This has been completely busted by Oda at this point, because we have learned that Shanks has actually his own part of the new world that he rules over, and as Kid arrives at Elbaf, we also get confirmation that Shanks has a giant army of other pirate crews fighting for him, just like Whitebeard, Big Mom, or Kaido. What is maybe the craziest part about this fight though is that it's now 100% confirmed that Shanks wants to reach Laugh Tale himself. Yes, he did say that he wanted to enter the race when he appeared during Wano, however, there was still a chance that he simply meant actively helping Luffy to become Pirate King. But in that case, Shanks wouldn't need Kaido's road poneglyph. After all, Luffy already has that one. Which does mean that he wants it for himself, and this makes his true motivations even more mysterious than they already were. After all, he could have just taken that poneglyph from Luffy when he came to Wano. Actually, Luffy would have probably just given it to him. Instead, he just apparently came to save Luffy and co from Green Bull. Very strange. So let's put Kid aside here for a second and talk about what it means that Shanks is in the bar here on Elbaf with Dory and Broggy. And first of all, given that most theories that any of us make don't end up coming true, it does feel nice being right for a change. Because I've been speculating about Shanks being the secret protector of Elbaf for almost 4 years now. In case you wonder what the hints were for this, here's a very quick overview. Elbaf, which is really just the word fable spelled backwards by the way, is the country of giants which has a giant tree in the middle of it as well. And while Wano was inspired by samurai and Japanese mythology, Elbaf is clearly based on Vikings and Nordic mythology. It's a reference to the world tree Yggdrasil and the 7 realms, one of which is the realms of the giants, and its ruler is literally called Loki. Elbaf as an island was first mentioned all the way back in chapter 115 when the Straw Hats first ran into Dory and Broggy, the 2 giant warrior captains that are with Shanks in the bar here. Already back then, both of them were wearing Viking armor, and the ship of their giant pirate crew was also a classic Viking ship. And you might not notice, but one major inspiration for One Piece was actually the anime Vicky the Viking, which was produced in both Germany and Japan, funnily enough. And you might or might not have noticed that Shanks himself actually has a really strong Viking theme going on as well that connects him heavily to Elbaf pretty much from chapter 1 of the story. First of all, Shanks' ship is exactly the same Viking design as the ships from Elbaf. Not only that, but Shanks himself is also inspired by the Nordic god Tyr. Now, Tyr might not be as famous as Thor, Odin, or Loki, but he's actually one of the most powerful and important gods in Nordic mythology. He was apparently the god concerned with the formalities of war, especially treaties, and also, appropriately, of justice. Which of course fits perfectly with Shanks' role throughout the entire story so far, stopping the war at Marineford and all. On top of all that though, Tyr is most famous for sacrificing his arm to the giant monster Fenrir so that the other gods could bind him. Which is of course pretty much in your face, considering that Shanks also literally sacrifices his arm to a giant monster in the very first chapter of One Piece. Now, one thing that is still unclear though, even after chapter 1076, is whether Shanks is just an ally and guardian of Elbaf, or if Elbaf is actually under his rule and part of Shanks' territory. One argument against Shanks being the ruler of Elbaf is the existence of Prince Loki, and that Big Mom was confident that she could get the warriors of Elbaf, known as the strongest army in the world, on her side by marrying off Lola to Loki. So if Shanks actually was the ruler of Elbaf, that shouldn't have been possible in the first place. On the other hand though, one woman says in this chapter to Shanks that they should be paying protection money to him for keeping them safe all the time, kind of implying that Shanks has control over the island, kind of like with the Yakuza in Japan paying protection money. And Dory and Broggy also not only refer to Shanks as Big Brother, which in Japanese also sounds like the respectful Yakuza lingo, but they also willingly follow Shanks into battle, even though they are both captains. Which of course leaves one very important question on the table. If Shanks is allied with the giants of Elbaf right now in whatever way, how will Usopp be able to lead them all at the end of the story? Because that is something that has been majorly foreshadowed ever since Little Garden. So let's look at what Shanks being on Elbaf actually means for the Elbaf arc and the Straw Hats going forward. And first of all, to get it out of the way, if it wasn't already obvious enough that Luffy and co will be going to Elbaf soon, Shanks being there is the ultimate proof that it will happen. Just think of all the story arcs that are leading to this island. There is the Adam Tree that produces the indestructible wood that the Thousand Sunny is made out of. It is also most likely the main entrance to the Sky Islands and Burka, which would make it the perfect arc to reintroduce Urush, the one supernova that we have seen no trace of so far. Of course, we have also just learned that the entire knowledge of the library of Ohara has been transported safely to Elbaf 2 by Saul, making a reunion with Robin a must-see. Then there is this color spread of the Straw Hats as Vikings, and let's be real, if Oda had planned to skip going to Elbaf altogether, he surely would have shown it off to us in all of its glory instead of shrouding it in so much mystery and barely giving us a glimpse of its shoreline so far. But the two most important character arcs culminating in Elbaf that I want to see, of course, are Luffy and Usopp, especially now that the Red Hair Pirates are confirmed to be there. You have, of course, Luffy's overdue meeting with Shanks to prove himself as a great pirate, but before we get into that, I want to first talk about Usopp because I'm convinced that Elbaf will be his arc. Now, as you might know, Usopp has gained the respect of various Elbaf giants throughout the story, including Dory and Broggy, Oimo, Kashi, and Hairyujin. In fact, Usopp was inspired by the giants of Elbaf to become a brave warrior of the sea. And as Usopp's lies keep coming true throughout the story, Usopp could really become the leader of the giants and lead an army of 8,000 men strong into battle besides Luffy, like he once said. Also remember that we have the mysterious Prince Loki. In Nordic mythology, Loki is of course known as a trickster and a liar, but so is Usopp. Both of them might actually be quite similar in terms of personality, but while Usopp values bravery and wants to be like the giants, Loki most likely values himself and oppresses the other giants. And so Usopp could show his bravery by challenging Loki to a duel. And now we suddenly have the classic theme of David with his giant slingshot versus the giant Goliath. And at this point, it would also be a waste if Oda didn't give Usopp a Mjolnir-like hammer to parallel Thor and Loki as well. And who knows, maybe another lie will come true and Usopp might awaken his Conqueror's Haki after Luffy and Zoro, something that fans have been speculating for a while now. And on top of all that, we have of course also the entire relationship with his father Usopp, the sniper of Shanks' crew. In a way, he is the one responsible for Usopp being a coward and a liar in the first place. Because when he left his son and his mother, he left Usopp with two choices: resent his father for leaving, or, as he did in the end, glorifying him. After all, why would he leave his only kid behind if he wasn't a legendary pirate with very important work to do? And this really hits home when you realize that it's probably exactly this insecurity about being left behind that led to Usopp's chronic lying. When we first meet him, he lies about being a great and powerful man, having had many adventures just like his father, because he feels like he could never truly be this person in reality. Usopp sees himself as weak, insecure, and worthless. So finally confronting his father and finding closure could truly be the breakthrough for Usopp that makes him one of the most badass Straw Hats, if he isn't already. But the biggest thing about Elbaf will of course be Luffy finally meeting Shanks, getting the chance to prove himself to his mentor. And here it will of course be really interesting to see what Shanks' true intentions are. Is he good, neutral, or maybe even the secret villain of the entire story? So to find out what will most likely happen when Luffy arrives on Elbaf to meet Shanks, you can watch this video right here with all the evidence in the story so far. Thanks for watching.